Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do a layout that focuses on Dingle Crystal. Dingle Crystal is a fun family-owned crystal factory in Dingle, and I'm going to tell you a lot more about it in this video. There's a lot of history that goes into that, so just saying it's a fun family-owned business does not even cover it. Um, I hope this is a fun layout that you can do easily. It's a little bit different and takes a little bit of thought, but not too much. And it comes together pretty well. So let's check out my workspace and we'll get to work. All right, so this is my workspace for today, and you'll recognize this as the right-hand side of the last page that we did in my Ireland scrapbook. We are moving on from this point where we were visiting Dunmore Head, and we're moving back closer to Dingle now. And our tour guide took us to an amazing stop at a place called Dingle Crystal. And so the pictures we are going to do today are the first of a couple of layouts that will be done for that stop. I'm going to use some scraps, a little bit, I guess you could call them scraps. These were cut out from gutting another paper, and we're going to utilize both of these on a 2-page layout here. And this paper has a couple of circles cut out of it up here. So we're going to use the rest of the paper, probably everything except for the strip right below these circles. We'll see how that goes. So we're going to use that, and that's all the paper we're going to use to augment this. We may throw a few embellishments on, but that's the only paper that we're going to use. We're going to use a number of peekaboo pockets today. You can see I have them kind of all set up here in a waterfall arrangement. So we're going to be putting those on a page, and then some other photos that I have already pre-cut and kind of arranged how I want them to be on the layout. So I'm just going to set those aside while we cut our pieces that we're going to add to our blank page. Okay, so our blank pages, I'm going to set that up there. So these 2 squares are already cut. We're not going to do any changes to these, but I did want to give you a measurement so that you know what I'm working with here. These are 9 inches square. So 9 inches that way and 9 inches that way. But this paper is directional so that you can read these words. You need it to be going this way. I think this is actually the best way, because you can read the words going this way and you can read the words going this way. Yeah, so this way. And it's not just because my family members are from County Cork and we can read Cork really well. I promise. But it is because going this way, some of them are going to be backwards. So we need to do it this way. Anyway, so 9-inch square of your choice. Then this paper is a little bit of a funky paper. So if you have this, it's beautiful on this side, very, very nice plaid, but you flip it over and you've got this thing of the island down here that you kind of have to work around if you want to use this paper for anything. Okay, and we do want to use this paper today for a couple of things. So we are going to punch a couple of borders first and then see where we stand with this. So just to make it a little easier on me, I'm going to go ahead and just trim off this side. I'm going to move this to the edge of that circle, and we're gonna keep as much of that paper as we possibly can, but this one's gonna go over to be recycled. Okay, so let's see how much we have left. We have about 10 1/4, almost 10 1/4 inches of paper by 12, which should be sufficient. But let's go ahead. We're gonna punch some first. I'm gonna punch 2 rows of lamp light, and we're going to punch it from this edge right here because I want it to be in this green. So we're gonna flip that over. Lamplight is a Boilermaker cartridge that came out a while ago. I want to say like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Time is flying and I don't always remember accurately. So if you know when it came out, let me know. I do have a list I can look it up on. I just failed to do that before starting my video today. Maybe I can check it before I post this and then I can tell you. All right, so you can see it's a cute design that's just a little different than your average one. And that's what I was looking for, something that would be just a little bit different. So we're going to punch one more, and then we're going to see what we have left of this paper. I would really like to have about 8 inches, but if we don't, we will make some modifications and work with it. Okay. So let's see here. We've got just barely 8 inches, a little bit more than 8 inches. Awesome. Huzzah! Okay, so I'm going to stop there for a moment, but I'm not going to put this away because we may be revisiting that in just a little bit. So we're going to put that over there. For the time being, I'm going to grab my trimmer, and this gets just a little tricky, not super tricky, but definitely just a little tricky. We're going to cut this into 2 pieces that are 4 inches. Okay, so we're going to go straight down the middle at 4 inches. Now, I'm going to make a cut. I'm going to use the upper shoulder of my trimmer, and I'm going to slide my paper over 1 inch. So it's sitting at the 1 inch mark here. Okay, so we're going to shut I'm going to shut that. I'm going to close the arm that the blade slides on. Okay, so I'm going to, with 1 inch from the edge over here, I'm going to cut from the 1.5 inch mark up here to 1.5 inches up down here. Now, I do that by using this ruler that is right here on the edge of my trimmer arm, okay, the blade arm. I'm going to start cutting at 1.5 inches, and I know the blade starts 1 inch from the edge of the housing. I know that that white line is approximately where the blade is coming in contact with my paper, and it's 1 inch from this edge of my blade housing. So I can line up my blade housing at the 2.5 mark here and know that it's going to start cutting at 1.5 inches up here. And I can cut down until this end of my housing gets to 11.5. That means my blade will stop at 10.5. Okay? I know that's really hard for you to see, but just trust that I have 1.5 here and 1.5 here, okay? This is not all that tricky. It's just very specific. Now I'm going to start from the end of that cut and cut to the corner. And that can be a little bit difficult to line up. You have to just kind of move your paper and use the little arrow so that you know where the blade's going to start. I'm going to line it up so that the end of that cut is right at this 10-inch mark on the ruler. Okay, so 10-inch mark on the ruler, right where the arrow is hitting is pointing right at that mark. And I know it's starting at the 10-inch mark. That means I can move my blade housing down to 11 inches, start my cut there, and cut to the corner. Okay, so I'm going to cut there and cut to the corner. And in a perfect world, that would mean that I have cut all the way. But it didn't quite go, but that's okay. I can use my precision point scissors and finish that because it's just a little snip. We're going to do the same thing down here on this end. We're going to line it up. We're going to line up the base of that cut at a known mark on the ruler. Line it up so that we know where the blade's going to hit. There at the 1/2-inch mark. Corners on the cutting line down here. And I'm going to start cutting with this edge of my housing, then at 10.5, just because that's the way I have lined it up. Not because you have to line it up that way. Oh, look, must have cut all the way through and I didn't realize it. It is really hard to see. Okay, so we've got those two pieces. We're going to set those two pieces aside over here. Then we're going to do the same thing with this piece. Okay, we're going to line it up using the shoulder at the top at the 1-inch mark on the right hand side. We're going to come up here, start our cut with this edge at 2.5, come down till it reaches 11.5, stop. Then we're going to cut those funky angles. Takes a little bit of fiddling. And if your cut is just slightly off, it's really going to be okay because you're not going to see it. And chances are a photo is going to cover it anyway. So one for one side, one for another side. All right, so let's see how we can do. I may need to use another scrap, so let me see if I can find some more of that paper. All right, I need 2 more of my punched strips. So I went ahead and I've got another one of these papers. So we're just going to go ahead and cut or punch 2 more strips from this larger piece. I thought I had some scrap strips, but I must have used them on something else, which is okay. All right. We may continue with kind of a similar layout with the same papers. I don't know about layout, but similar papers in the next layout because it will still be for the same location. And I like to try to keep things kind of consistent when we're at the same places or doing the same things. I just find it's kind of, sometimes it's adds a nice cohesive touch. Other times it's just confusing, but sometimes it works. I'm going to take this blank page and we're going to work with that for right now. I'm going to take this piece, the one with the little notches in it, and I'm going to take my repositionable adhesive. I'm going to go ahead and add repositionable adhesive to these little wings. And since we're at it, we're just going to add it going all the way down in spots down the side. I'm going to put this on the outside edge of my page. So 12 inches top to bottom. There's going to be a little bit of an edge that we see, and that's just because of the variation in the paper. The variance in the paper. All right, and then I'm going to take this cutout piece and I'm going to add this, but I'm not going to add it right on top of it. I'm going to add it kind of in front, giving it about 1/8 of an inch. In front like that. And I'm going to add my blue square. And there's another reason why I'm using my repositionable adhesive here. I may be lifting some stuff up here. Just a sec. We'll see how it has all come together. Okay, so work is going the right direction. See how that's covering? I think I want that to be over the top of this. So that means I'm going to come in here and lift up this strip. Just leave that on there and hold it. We're going to center this best we can. And I'm going to bring it forward so that it meets the plaid, which means that it's going to be a little bit not quite going all the way to the jeeping in the middle, but that's okay. It'll be all right. Okay, so we're going to go like that. Again, this is a layout that much of this base is going to be covered. So I'm not super worried about gaps or things like that because most of it we're not going to see. Okay, so I'm grabbing one of my borders that we punched. And this is down to, you can see it's down to like the very last little bit, which means I'm having to put a lot of pressure. So I'm going to use my smaller adhesive because I don't have to put as much pressure on it to get it to roll off. All right, and I want to put this going across the top and the bottom edge. So, and I think I'm going to place this so that this edge, that's hard to see. This edge kind of goes along with the angle of that page. And the top edge of my paper, as you can see, kind of separates that top little notch in the punch. And then that way that'll be consistent all the way across. And I'll trim that off in a sec. Okay, so we're going to do that with two different ones, across the top and across the bottom. Okay, so top and bottom. Bottom, I actually could flip it over. Let's flip it over. Then it can be consistent the whole way across. Like the whole top and bottom will reflect each other, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not saying it very well, but that is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so we're just gonna keep that lined up and go all the way across like that. And then this piece will go back on top. Right there. Okay, I'll get my precision point scissors and trim off this edge. And this edge. Like that. All right, so that's the right side. I'm going to do the same thing on the left side. So let me grab that page. It's up here underneath the pictures, which we'll get to in just a second. I'm going to assemble this second page the same way. Now we're going to go ahead and add some pictures to this. So I'm going to start actually with this right hand side because these photos are a little more straightforward. And we've got quite a few. So that's, you're going to see here really quickly what I meant by the fact that we aren't going to see a whole lot of the design on the page because of the photos. But it's just one of the things we just learn to accept as we create. I could lower this down a little, then we at least see, we can at least see some of the design. Maybe we'll see some of the design. Maybe not. It's just so hard, you know. I have trimmed and trimmed and trimmed photos, trying to only get, you know, the stuff that we really want to make sure we get. And it's just hard. So could put that one a little bit under, and then we would have a bit more of that design on from the top. I think we'll do that. Then we get a little more of the green up there on top. Okay, let me go ahead and secure these photos, and we'll go from there.
So I don't remember if I have told you the story of Dingle Crystal and its uniqueness amongst um, the crystal works there. I'm not, and you may not be aware of this either. I was not until we went and visited. Um, Waterford Crystal initially was made in Waterford, Ireland. Waterford is a very well-known name amongst fine lead crystal, cut lead crystal. Sean Daly, who owns Dingle Crystal, was a master cutter for Waterford Crystal back when Waterford Crystal was made in Waterford, Ireland. And the company at one point decided to move over to the continent, over to Europe, the main European continent. And I don't know exactly where it moved to, but it moved to a place where it could manufacture less expensively, presumably. Um, and Sean decided he didn't want to go. He didn't want to move his family. He didn't want to um, have to leave Ireland. So he created his own company called Dingle Crystal and started cutting his own and made it a family owned and run business and taught his family members to cut crystal as well. So all the people that we met when we visited Dingle Crystal were all members of his family. He was happened to be there. He had just flown in that morning. I think he had arrived from the States. They have a big convention that they go to every year here in the States in Las Vegas, and I think they do one on the East Coast too, if I'm not mistaken. But he had just gone to that and flown home, and his so he was a little jet lagged. But the two gentlemen that taught us and showed us all the things were his son and son-in-law who were there, and they both were cutting crystal while we were there, and they both shared and taught and showed us anything we wanted to see pretty much. And it was fascinating, and we were all so enthralled with the whole process, how it worked and how it came together. So I tried my best to kind of capture that. They have this wonderful little booklet that they'll give you that talks about the whole story of how Dingle Crystal came about. This is Sean, by the way. These pictures are of him. And the whole family that works there, um, and everything that they do. The his daughters or daughters-in-law are mainly the ones that bring the crystal around the world and work in his other shops. They have another shop um, in I'm trying to see if it says in here. They have another their main shop is the one we visited there in Dingle. They have another shop um, on Green Street in Dingle, it says. And then I believe they have another shop in Galway, but don't hold me to that because I don't remember for sure. Um, but if you're curious about it and you're over there visiting, definitely take the time to go see them. They're on Green Street in Dingle. That's the retail store, but you can go to the workshop and visitor center, and that is on Ballinabula Industry Estate. I believe that's what that's called. Um, anyway, really cool place. This is the design. I bought a little glass that looks very similar to this, only it was done in green glass, which is something that they do after they do a huge run of the clear glass. They will do a run of green glass right before they clean out the kilt. The kiln, yeah, the kiln, sorry. Because sometimes the green glass can cause um, issues. So they wait and they only do colored glass right before they clean the kiln. This is the one that I had really wanted. This is the beehive design. And since I live in the beehive state, I thought that would have been really perfect. But they said that it's just too difficult to do on a small glass like this. Obviously, they did do one once, but they discovered that it was just too difficult. Um, no, you know what? As I'm saying that, I think that's wrong. I think the reason they couldn't do it for me was because I wanted it on colored glass, and I wanted a small. This is called a brandy glass. That I wanted to turn into a votive holder I could put a candle in. And by doing it in green glass and then making all of these cuts, there would have been very, very minimal colored glass left because of all the cuts. So that are required to do the beehive cut. So I got this cut instead, which is lovely. The Celtic Flame is lovely. And it is Sean's original, one of his original designs. So that's cool too. And so I'm very happy with it. But if you go, just know there are lots of different designs of things. That's what their shop looks like down in downtown Dingle. That's not the shop we went to, but it is the other shop. Anyway, a very, very cool place to visit, to say the least. So what I'm going to do is I took the booklet and I cut it into sections. Not all of the booklet were things that we really wanted to retain or remember, but I do have the booklet. I do have an extra one, and it will be going in its own little sleeve. But I decided I would just cut it and make a little waterfall of all the important bits. And so that's what all of these are. So I'm going to adhere this piece, the bottom piece, because I don't necessarily need the back. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to my page. It's not going to touch any photos. It's just going to be right underneath and on top of photo safe paper. So that's going to go there. And then after we put our page protector on, these other pieces are going to go on top. And because there are 4 of these, I may want to go in and actually adhere my page protector to my page just to give it some more stability so it's not flopping around, which is an option. But I'm gonna lay these on here on top of the page protector about every 1/2 of an inch, and this adhesive strip will be folded over and go down so that these overlap by every 1/2 of an inch. And I'm going to add a little tab on the side that will gradually go down so that we know, the reader, the onlooker will know to go ahead and flip those. Okay. This is just a really quick general informational thing that talks about the Dingle crystal story. I think I'm going to raise that up so that we can see a little more of the design on the page. This Dingle crystal was established in 1999. It says Sean started as a young apprentice at Waterford Crystal and studied for 15 years to become a master cutter. And when Waterford Crystal moved their production overseas, Sean kept the tradition alive, the tradition of cutting in Ireland alive, which is a lovely idea, I think. So we fully supported that and bought several things from him, from our group. Vases and small things. I don't have a lot of cut crystal in my house, so we didn't need a whole bunch, but we definitely wanted some. It says that together with his wife Liz, he moved to Dingle, County Kerry in 1999 and set up Dingle Crystal. Irish crystal cutting dates back to the 18th century, but very few of those pieces are remaining, and there are very few cutters remaining. Sean is one of the last remaining master cutters in Ireland, it says. He and all 5 of his children are actively involved in keeping the tradition of hand-cut crystal alive in Ireland. So, and as far as these pictures are concerned, this is the corner of the shop that you can shop in there at the factory or at the workshop. And they have these windows so you can see into the workshop area. And then they invited us into the workshop area where we were able to walk around and look and see all the things. This is me and my cousin as we entered the workspace. And this is all of us watching as I believe this is his son-in-law was explaining how they cut the lead crystal into patterns and how they mark it so that their cuts are even and things like that. And we loved the labradoodle that they had just sort of hanging out in there because he reminded us so much of our labradoodle that we had. She was the same color, same size, a little smaller, but similar, very similar size. Anyway, we watched him and he instructed us. And we also learned from Sean's son, who we'll look at in the next layout and learn more about what they do. But these are just some samplings of some of the many patterns that they do in the glass. All right, so we do need to add some embellishments to this, and I know that's the part that's the most painful, so I always avoid it. No, I don't avoid it, but I do seem to always leave it to the end because, and then I labor, before I get to it, because it's just hard for me. Mostly because I have a lot of the same stuff. But let's go ahead. We're just going to add a couple things here. We're going to add some fireflies and some hearts and some shamrocks. I'll have this say family time. And I'm not going to cover up his hands, so we'll put this kind of down here under his elbow. And we'll do another one kind of on the other side. And we'll just say blessings here. And I think that's all I'm going to do is just 2, because this will be very interactive here. And I think that will be enough. All right. So thanks so much for joining me this time around. I hope this was a layout that is easy for you to recreate. It really doesn't take a lot of time, and I love that it used up some of my pieces of papers that had been partially used before. So I feel like that's important to be able to use all of the papers and not have, a huge stack of bits and pieces left over when you're done with the project. So, yeah. Let me know if you have any comments. I always love to hear them. And I look forward to seeing them. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day and many more creative moments. Take care.